to give awards every day. I know people think that, you know, you give out awards all the time. But the truth is, this is the first award I've ever, the first time I've ever been invited to be specifically alone a keynote speaker, and it's the first time I've ever presented an award, and the fact that it's to Jane Wilson is so serendipitous in about 1,000 ways that, you know, right now I'm speechless. Hopefully later that will change.
She's the best. It's like a dream come true. If I could have asked anybody to be a presenter. Worked with Grace Lee, the woman who directed and collaborated with me, who sat with me here, in a past film together, and then she approached me because we were just in this place in our lives where we were wondering aloud constantly, why would somebody be opposed to having health care when they're ill, when they're not well, they don't have a lot of money, and it just kind of confused us. And with this whole tide of 2010 of sort of the Tea Party uprising in the Congress, so and we started running a whole bunch of ideas past each other. Should we make a documentary? Should we talk about people who are people of faith who are not so conservative because they're out there? And I ran that idea past her, and then she said, let's meet up and have dinner, because I have an idea. And I'm from Iowa originally. And so that's what sort of
Which is why you play it so well.
You infiltrate. It's just, I love how your entire face changes.
I'm Anita Khanzadian, and I am the proud director of Silent Witnesses.
And it's based on interviews and conversations with child survivors of the Holocaust who are sort of off the radar. And even when we talk about it, we say, oh, children of Holocaust survivors. No, these are kids who were hidden, most of them on the outside. Sometimes they ended up in camps. But they're very different because they're a story that nobody talked about for a long time.
Hi, I'm Lorca Peress. Fengar, Gael. Really excited to be here, and we of course thank the Women in Arts and Media Coalition. Fengar and I have been working together for many years. Actually, it started in 2003, right?
Yes. I entered a multi-stages competition, and my play was a finalist, and eventually we actually produced it. And
right, it's actually the winner of this of our event. So she resubmitted the play in 2011, and it won the Multi-Stages New Works contest.
The secret to writing is rewriting.
That's right. That's what they
Talk a
say.
little bit about it.
Yeah, well, one of the ways we collaborate is the first thing we do is we get together and read the entire play and play all the roles and have a glass of wine, and we talk about how we envision the play. And Lorca and I have the same philosophy of theater, which helps. We believe theater should be a fusion of art forms, not just linear, sequential domestic realism, but plays with music and dance and visual images.
I started my company because I wanted to do multidisciplinary new works. And so a lot of the work that we do includes multimedia, and in this production we had fabulous projections by Jan Hartley, sensational artist, and we had original music. We brought in a second composer, and we had dancers and choreographers, and 25 women were involved in that production.
Hi, I'm Shellen Lubin, co-president of the Women in the Arts and Media Coalition.
And I'm Avis Boone, co-president of the Women in the Arts and Media Coalition.
Under a couple of different names, the Women in the Arts and Media Coalition has fostered its own brand of collaboration, harnessing the power of our member organizations to address issues of concern to women in all of our industries and disciplines. That's what we do. We bring us all together. From ageism to gender bias to working in new media, the coalition networks and connects individuals and entire organizations to share information, to sponsor events, and to facilitate actions that nurture the voices and visions of women.
We have two signature events. One is this one, the Collaboration Awards, celebrating women working with women. And the other is Vintage, celebrating the work and image of older women, which should be sometime in 2014. We also collaborate with all of our members boards who co-produce events like Swan Day, Women Supporting Women Artists Now, the last Saturday in March. Women's History Month, created by Women's Arts.
Our website is one of the most important things we now offer you. On our website, you will find a calendar of available events from all of our organizations, including events that are streamed online and can be seen by anyone, anywhere. You'll also find newsletters, mailings, Facebook and Twitter feeds, including info from so many different people and organizations who are doing important things with regard to women in the arts and in the media. And now, with our member org, the League of Professional Theater Women, our newest project, we have taken over monthly production from our affiliate, Women Arts, because they want to focus on Swan Day, which is their other baby. The film, video, and theater funding newsletters, which you can subscribe to on our website and which are available and archived there as well. A woman who knows a great deal about collaboration. In fact, she co-created The Daily Show. She should win a crown for that work. In fact, for many years, many of the people here I know only got their news from The Daily Show because they couldn't stand to watch anything else. She co-created it with Liz Winstead and also with someone else, which I didn't know until today, and she's going to tell you about that. She was also its original executive producer and showrunner, and won Emmy and Peabody Awards, and sure learned how to work with lots of different kinds of people.
Founder and president of Mad Cow Productions, she has created and produced so many comedy projects. She recently earned an NAACP Image Award nomination for the BET Late Show Don't Sleep. She is currently developing her own collaborative female digital comedy entity called Boone.
The absolutely amazing Madeleine Smithberg.
This is the story that I think everyone wants to hear. Is Elise Roth here? Is she not here? I kill her. Yeah. Anyway. Liz Winstead and I were neighbors in a brownstone on a seminary block in Chelsea, and Elise Roth, who's apparently not here, was my producing partner and collaborator at that time for the company that I formed when I left the Letterman show, which was called Half-Baked Productions, had nothing to do with weed. Don't do cooking shows that were funny, but instead comedy just kind of grabbed me back in, and Comedy Central wanted a show that could be on every night that would do for their network what SportsCenter did for ESPN, which was be a flagship, be a tentpole. And I had no interest in this. I had been at the Letterman show for 6 years and had been 2 years with the Jon Stewart show at MTV and later in syndication with Paramount. I was trying to get pregnant. I did not want the job. Which is hilarious. Like the idea now of where things have come to think that someone would be pursuing me for this amazing job, and I'd be like, nah, you know, it's not really what I'm feeling. It was a very different economic time, and opportunities were a little bit more plentiful. But nevertheless, I said no for about 7 months, and finally got coerced and accepted the job and walked into an office where Liz Winstead, Elise Roth, the turd who's not here tonight, and I were installed. We were developing a different show that we had sold to Comedy Central, and I said, well, we're going to do this daily show for them. And for a second I got, wah. And then it was like, okay. And we just switched out the 3x5 index cards, and we started focusing on the world at large. What could we do every day that could react to the world? What would make sense? I would love to tell you that there was some overall creative plan and vision. There wasn't. What there was a lot of 24-hour news networks popping up. And a lot of, like, entertainment was in crisis again. And NBC had put Dateline on 5 days a week. And I was just fascinated by it. Because when there is too many news outlets, and the internet didn't really exist yet, and a lot to fill but not enough news to fill it, what happens is that it gets filled with the egos of the people who are producing it. And the correspondent isn't reporting on a story, he's posturing his reportage of the story. And watching this happen was so amusing, and then it occurred to us, oh wait, we can make fun of them. They're asking for it, and so we did, and such it happened, and we were building the plane as we flew it. We never had to pilot it. We were on for a year. We moved those cars around and we would hire one more person, and they would have another idea, and then boom, next thing you know, there it was. And it was kind of an exciting time. One of the most gratifying aspects of my career, especially as years fly by, and they are flying, has been my role as a mentor to young, bright, and talented women. I think it's a very unique form of collaboration. I love to think that one of my strongest talents is that I pick them well, and I pick them young, and I grab them right out of school when they're still blind with that naivete that will cause them to plow through the obstacles that they don't see. It's a brilliant myopia. I want to also say this, but that I do love boys, and I even tolerate men, and a lot of working in comedy does force you to collaborate with funny guys, and that has also been a huge part of the ride, but I get a really singular, vicarious thrill of watching a young, bright, ambitious, blissfully unaware mini-me find her creative and professional life on my watch. And so what I've done is I'm putting that to work for me. And that brings us this all around full circle. There really is a synchronicity at work tonight in this room and apparently in my life and the lives of some people here. My latest project, which I'm really excited about, and it's in the development phases right now. It's a digital comedy YouTube channel and content incubator, and it's called Moo. And the idea is that I'm going to collaborate with young content creators who already have YouTube channels. There's an army of funny, smart women. They're performing, they're writing, they're directing, they're doing animation, they're doing music, they're doing just incredible things, creating characters, doing their own sort of deconstructed sketch comedy shows in their apartments. They do everything. And I'm going to choose them and collaborate with them, and we together are going to produce content that will be hopefully elevated beyond what they can do by themselves. And every month, we're going to present a live show which will be streamed, and it's going to be itself a piloting of a new kind of sketch comedy. And I'm in the process right now of putting together my deck and trying to get some business partnership for Moo, and I've already got the YouTube space in LA, and it really does seem to be falling into place. And so it's literally called, I was working the deck, it's a female collaborative digital comedy content incubator. About 3 years ago, Jane asked me if I would host a fundraiser for a film she was involved in my home in Los Angeles. And of course I said yes, but that was a big secret. I couldn't tell anybody, we couldn't talk about what it was. And I was having a little bit of like buyer's remorse, like, what kind of movie is this, Jane? But then when I saw what she and Grace Lee had done, which it's so brilliant that I don't even know how to say it. It's a hybrid, it kind of redefines, it's its own genre. But Jane, as a fictional character named JANEANE, infiltrated the Tea Party and went underground in Iowa and got way too close to some of the most evil and nefarious forces at work in our society, and then they developed a fiction for the character that really asked questions like, how can somebody who would need health care be against health care? And the film really has never been more relevant than it is right now right after the government shutdown and the sort of the more clamoring of this inconceivably awful faction at work in our political system. And I think that the film is not only funny, brave, unique, original, It's also important with a capital I, and I don't say that very much. So it is my honor to present this beautiful award. It's the 2013 Collaboration Award. It goes to Jane Edith Wilson for her work in JANEANE from Des Moines.
And thank you, Madeleine. Thank you so much. That was are also so complimented to be recognized alongside Stephanie and Anita and Fengar and Lorca. I realize now I should have asked her if that's pronouncing it correctly, Fengar, whose work is so powerful and important as well. Because we only have a few minutes here, I cannot even begin to thank all the people who helped us to make JANEANE from Des Moines a reality. But it is very sweet indeed that the keynote speaker this evening, Madeleine Smithberg, actually threw a fundraiser in her home for this very beautiful film. I flew fly to Iowa, where I would assume a false identity and stay in character all day long as a Iowa Tea Party GOP conservative Christian candidates made their way to events in the run-up to the 2012 Iowa caucuses. We sent out a lot of cryptic invites to these parties, baked a lot of brownies, put out a lot of wine and crudité, and we begged every person we knew to help us fund this political hybrid film adventure because we could not go to a studio, we couldn't put them on Kickstarter because if the thing was blown out of the water, I was actually kind of in a little bit of danger to be filming it there as my character, and also would probably ruin the film and the effect we wanted to have. The impetus for making the film was the aftermath of the 2010 midterm elections and the rise of the Tea Party elected into the government. Grace and I were looking at that situation with utter dismay. My big idea was to make a film about the religious left in America, a documentary that would combat the prevalent perception that every Christian in America's dearest wish is to take food stamps and health care away from the poor and disenfranchised. Grace asked me to backburner that idea and think about doing something more bold and daring, asking me to go undercover and play JANEANE, the conservative Christian Tea Party patriot, the opposite of what I am in real life, as sort of a hybrid narrative feature and doc all at once. This is why she's the kind of artist you want to be in collaboration with. She constantly pushed us to do the most bold, challenging story that we could possibly come up with. I'm so proud of this film and the light it sheds on the JANEANEs of America. They are still out there. They are still the largest non-voting bloc whose issues are not being taken seriously by either party, really. Our dearest wish is that this story continues to examine in 2014, 2016, and beyond. Grassroots activist filmmaking is one of the many ways that we can truly start a profound dialogue about policy affecting the working poor in this country. Because we very much discovered that much of the mainstream news media and political operatives that drive these campaigns have a little dance going on with one another, and average citizens, especially those living in great need, desperation, and insecurity, are not invited to that dance. So, FYI, you can download and buy the film on iTunes, or you can see me, I have some no-frills copies of it with me right now, or you can wait for it to be on various video-on-demand platforms in mid-January.
Here to speak about the arc of their collaboration, I give you Stephanie Satie and Anita Khanzadian.
We believe that theater can change lives, you know, maybe not so many at once, but if you put people in a small room, a dark space, and give them something very specific, it opens up the universal. So that's what we tried to do. I was doing a performance of a piece called Coming to America, which was also based on interviews of 9 women from real trouble spots all over the world. One survived the killing fields, an Afghani woman, and there were 9. Anyway, we were doing it as a fundraiser for an organization called Child Survivors of the Holocaust, which I had never really heard of. And they were putting their names on the wall in a museum somewhere. And we did it, this tiny space, my goodness, I think the stage was maybe twice the size of this podium. And during the Q&A, I noticed that the audience was filled with beautiful women, most of whom were, not surprisingly, social workers or psychologists.
And I said, "You're so good looking." And one woman said, "Well, nobody saves the ugly puppies." And I thought, oh my God, there's a theme here. And then she said, "Why don't you tell our stories?" So I talked to the hostess and I said, "Can I interview these people?" She came up with a list of, I think, 16 by the next week. And I started in the summer of 2005, going from house to house. And the first day I interviewed someone who remembered everything and then somebody who remembered nothing. And so that's how it started, but I didn't know how I would frame it. I didn't know how I would shape it. Go ahead.
Well, Stephanie started writing a play, and it was filled with these women, and she created other characters to come in, and we did several readings at our theater group, Interact Theater in Los Angeles. And also, and here, living room here, and also I think we did it also at Theater East, and it kept moving. Over the years, she kept re-interviewing the subject, and finally we said, "We want to do something with this." And Stephanie said, "I think maybe I can do a one-person play again, but I don't know if I should." I said, "Why not? You can still write the play. You can always do that. Let's do it." So that's what we did about a year and a half ago.
We're just so happy and proud that this piece was honored because we feel that we're honoring their lives. We hope we're honoring their lives in giving them to an audience. We thank you very much. It is my pleasure to introduce the winners of the 2013 Honorable Mention Women in the Arts Media Collaboration Award, Fengar, Gael, and Lorca.
I'm Lorca, Peress. This is Fengar, Gael. And we've been working together actually since 2003, which is quite special. And we're both, actually I brought you into the League of Professional Theater Women, didn't I? Yes, I did. I'm the co-president of the League of Professional Theater Women. So I'm the director of this piece, and I'm also the artistic director and the founder of Multi-Stages, my theater company. And we do new works, and we hold contests, which is how I actually got to meet Fengar Gael in 2003. What was it that you submitted?
The Breasts of Fortuna.
The Breasts of Fortuna. Of course that was going to be, a standout. That was our first piece, was in 2003, and then in 2009, Fengar won the contest. She's the first person who's ever won twice, and that was called The Judas Tree, a gorgeous production. Beautiful, beautiful piece. You want to talk a little bit about the piece, because it's so fun?
The play takes place on a fictitious island nation off the coast of South America. And Don Hilardo Hidalgo de la Conquista has a baby. His wife dies in childbirth, and the child needs, Esperanza needs an artificial heart. She isn't expected to live very long, so he wants her brief life to be his ideal of paradise. He surrounds her with nursing mothers who can only sing. She can only see beautiful things, hear beautiful sounds, but of course she lives and lives and lives. And so she becomes like this pawn in a matriarchal society created by a patriarch, but she escapes and comes back, and then the women try to create a society that is different, and
they revolt.
Yes, they do, and then the values of women are supposedly, but the child becomes her own self. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is thrilling. So thank you very much.
Watching you
Nice.